Forgive me, people keep calling and the call keeps getting interrupted and I don't really know how to stop that, so I have to start the video again. My point is I was having an off time. And these off times are confusing to people who don't have Parkinson's. They don't understand. They're like, well, what do you mean? You were just fine and now you can run. Well, it's often also true that we can run when we can't walk or skip and jump when we can't move very well at all. Remember that everything's temporary. When you're having an off time, as I am now, that's dystonic or bradykinesia is hitting you, or you're, I'm sorry, that's not bradykinesia. Bradykinesia is slowness of movement. See what I mean? When you're having an off time, you're not thinking too clearly. When you're having dyskinesias, this is dyskinesias, when you're kind of going around in circles and jerking all around. Or the bradykinesia is the slowness of movement. You're suddenly the $6 million man. I prefer Jamie Summers, the $6 million woman. No, bionic woman. Yeah, that's it. Or you're the Tin Man oil can. We all go through all this stuff. You have to go about this with a sense of humor. You got to get a little goofy and a little crazy to survive. There's that song by Seal. Got to get a little crazy if we're ever going to survive this. Yeah. So what is your accidental renaissance? Be thinking about that. There's a question for you. And what are you doing to make sure that you stay pep at this time? So in addition to the E.B. White, the lovely E.B. White letter, I also wanted to read another thing for you. There's more. You do not need to do anything specific during this time. You do need to recognize that our lives are interlaced and that duality is a lie, and that if you need help, do not martyr yourself or presume that people can read your invisible cue cards. Simply ask. Clearly, as clearly as possible. Clearly, really. Just say, hey, could you go get this at the store for me? Or I would really like to talk with you. Don't call someone and bring something else up in some lateral aggression move or some passive aggressive thing, which human nature tends to do. When we're fear-based, we do things like that unconsciously. And the biggest virus of all going around is unconsciousness. How can we be more conscious in our management of Parkinson's? That's the real question. What can you do to stay more present in your body instead of leaving when you're in pain or when you're feeling awkward and just off, like you're upside down in your body and that everything's wrong and this must be getting worse. It's a permanent state. Woe's me. I could never do this. Stop saying I could never, or I won't, or I can't. Start saying, hey, maybe I can't move my whole foot. What if I could just wiggle my toe? Like Uma Thurman in Kill Bill, when she gets into that yellow truck, which I won't say the name of. If you know that movie, I know you know what I'm talking about. Uma Thurman has just come out of a coma, and she's saying, wiggle your toe, wiggle your toe. She's willing her toe to move. This is what you need to do right now. And finding joy by starting just by wiggling a toe at a time is how you do it. We're experiencing Groundhog Day. It's like over and over and over again. We're being lambasted. Stay away from too much news. Studies prove this will depress your immunity by jacking your neurology up. And the last thing we want to do is trigger our nervous system. That's exactly what will dampen our immunity at this time. The best thing that you can do for the world is to take care of yourself. I'm not going to go over the rudimentary details with you because you already know them. Sleep, workouts, or some form of movement every day. Nutrition, nutrition, nutrition. Watch what you're eating. Watch the refined sugars and the processed stuff and the non-organic stuff. Check in with the raw foods and go for that. Remember that this can be an opportunity. And I don't mean that like some kind of untested Pollyanna. There was a time when I wanted to die. I was banging my head against the floor in the bathroom because my kidney was blocked for an entire year, in fact. They couldn't figure out what it was. They thought it was kidney stones. So they told me to drink more apple juice. Okay, more apple juice. Cheers. I'll drink some apple juice. Until I became so filled from the blocked kidney that I almost died and had emergency surgery. I've had shoulder surgery. I've been through accidents. I've been beat up past the age of 5. Were these accidents? Possibly. Did they make me stronger? Absolutely. Do I regret some of them? Sure. That much pain is really unnecessary. However, we all have this pain. I am not unique or special in any way, shape, or form. If I can get through this Parkinson's management, so can you. And even at this time when you feel so isolated and alone, you're not. We are a button, a touch, a shift, a return key away from one another, a phone call. You can do this. Also, mind the exercise videos online and check them out. Leaf through those. Get online. All levels are being incorporated here. What have you got to lose? I'll put some online, and I'm no fitness instructor. I'm just kind of trying to get my brain to work. I'm using these squishy things. This one is from David Byrne's concert called American Utopia. Fascinating stuff if you like David Byrne and the Talking Heads. This is Lake Street Dive. This will do a nice pick you up. I can post some music online if you like, but I have a feeling you have your own tastes and that you know exactly how to listen to your own music. But if you do have access to a streaming application called Spotify, I have 400 playlists in there. I'm happy to share them. And I want to send a special thanks out to Rick, the librarian, for showing me, who's not a grandmother, how to do a webinar and how technology works and how to share files. I want to thank Abraham for showing us how to be present and kind and not living entirely in the material world, but still being grounded in it. I want to thank Joan for her ferocious joy, for her willingness to try new things and to invigorate our group. I want to thank Ronnie for all those years of Ronniegrams and to all the new brigade who are taking over the charge and doing all the work. Here I am stepping in to give a talk that I thought was going to be interactive. I had a plan to chat with you, not at you, because you're my teachers. I look forward to those morning groups with the women so much I cannot tell you. I wish I could come every week. These kids really put a damper on my international party girl style, but you know, that's how it goes. What luck, what joy, what gratitude. So I invite you, and I'll leave you with this. I invite you to start making a list of what brings you joy and purpose. What gives you juice? What makes you feel most alive? What makes you happy to be here on earth now, at this unprecedented time? What skills or talents or small words can you deliver to humanity? You're wise. You have it within. We're interlaced across space and time, aren't we? I'll leave you with one more piece of writing. And thank you for coming to this virtual pandemic chit-chat that's been interrupted by 17 phone calls. I really am a big fan of Walt Whitman. The century and a half between his time and ours has been scarred by pandemics and pandemoniums and staggering triumphs of humanistic and scientific and intellectual pursuits. But there's something that the astrophysicist wrote. The astrophysicist Jan Levin, reading this from Crossing the Brooklyn Ferry by Walt Whitman. I'm a huge fan of brain pickings. This Maria Popovich is extraordinary. Wow, she is stunning. I'm sorry, it's Maria Popova. Popova. The word is brain pickings. It's an application online. It's a site you can go to. Anyway, this astrophysicist, Jana Levin, reads from Crossing the Brooklyn Ferry by Walt Whitman. I highly recommend you find this. I'll post a link. But I'm just going to read it to you here. Flood tide below me, I see you face to face. Clouds of the west, sun there half an hour high. I see you also, face to face. Crowds of men and women attired in the usual costumes. How curious you are to me. On the ferry boats, the hundreds and hundreds that cross returning home are more curious to me than you suppose, and you that shall cross from shore to shore, hence are more to me and more in my meditations than you might suppose. The impalpable sustenance of me, from all things at all hours of the day, The simple, compact, well-joined scheme, myself disintegrated. Everyone disintegrated, and yet part of the scheme, the similitudes of the past and those of the future. Others will enter the gates of the ferry and cross from shore to shore. Others will watch the run of the flood tide. Others will see the shipping of Manhattan north and west and heights of Brooklyn from the south to the east. Others will see the islands, large and small, 50 years hence. Others will see them as they cross the sun half an hour high, 100 years hence, or ever so many 100 years hence. Others will see them. They'll enjoy the sunset, the pouring in of the flood tide, the falling back to the sea of the ebb tide. It avails not time nor place. Distance avails not. I am with you, you men and women and people of a generation or ever so many generations hence. Just as you feel when you look on the river and sky, so I felt. Just as any of you is one of a living crowd, I was one of a crowd. Just as you are refreshed by the gladness of the river and the bright flow, I was refreshed. And just as you stand and lean on the rail, yet hurry with the swift current, I stood and yet was hurried. What is it then between us? What is the count of the scores or hundreds of years between us? Whatever it is, it avails not. Distance avails not, and place avails not. I too lived in Brooklyn, the streets of Manhattan Island, and bathed in the waters around it. That was a long time ago. I too felt the curious, abrupt questioning stir within me. It is not upon you alone the dark patches fall. The dark threw its patches down on me also. The best I'd done seemed to me blank and suspicious. My great thoughts, as I supposed them, were they not in reality meager? Nor is it you alone who know what it is to be evil. I am he who knew what it is to be evil. I too knitted the old knot of contrariety, blabbed, blushed, resented, lied, stole, grudged. I had guile, anger, lust, hot wishes I dared not speak, was wayward and vain and greedy, shallow, sly, cowardly, malignant, the wolf, the snake, the hog, not wanting in me, the cheating look, the frivolous word, the adulterous wish, not wanting. Refusals, hates, postponements, meanness, laziness, none of these wanting. Was one with the rest, the days and haps of the rest. Was called by my nighest name by clear, loud voices of young men. As they saw me approaching or passing, I felt their arms on my neck as I stood, or the negligent leaning of their flesh against me as I sat, saw many I loved on the street or ferry boat or public assembly, yet never told them a word. I lived the same life with the rest, the same old laughing, gnawing, sleeping, played the part that looks still back on the actor or actress. The same old role, the role that is what we make it, as great as we like, or as small as we like, or both great and small. You can get through this time. We are together. Stay close to your supports. Stay in the light. Stay in your heart. Stay open. People, we got this. We got this. Hunt your joy. Just because this is not exactly what we expected does not mean we can't thrive. Thanks for listening. See you soon.